Welcome to the Reseller Show with your hosts, Andy Lawrence and Kevin Blackburn.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Reseller Show. My name's Andy Lawrence.
And my name's Kev Blackburn.
And this is episode number 4 of the Reseller Show. We've got an action-packed evening this evening, as always. We've got lots of questions, lots of topics to discuss. So, Kev, why don't you fill us in about what we've got to chat about today?
We've got so much to chat about. This is going to be a jam-packed show. We've got a little bit of news. We're going to talk a little bit about Black Friday, which is in a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about Amazon loans. We're going to be talking about moving away from Amazon and eBay, as well as there's been a hot topic this week of documentation, invoices. So jam-packed show. Really, really looking forward to this one, Andy.
Good stuff, good stuff. So what should we get started on first?
It's always good to start with the news, isn't it? It's always good.
Yeah, why not? Let's do that, shall we?
So, I noticed we've got Black Friday. So Black Friday is this year, which is the 23rd of November. That's the Friday. But this week I actually read, it was actually 9 hours ago, the techradar.com reported that Amazon are going to be kicking off Black Friday sale on 16th of November. It's going to run from the 16th of November through to the 25th, which is Cyber Monday, I believe. So Black Friday is no longer Black Friday, Andy. It's actually now sort of Black Week. So what do you make of that?
I don't know. It seems it's getting longer every year, Kev, to be honest with you. Every time I read something about Black Friday, it was a day, then it was 2 days. It was going to start 48 hours earlier. Now it looks like we've got a week. It does feel very much like it is marketing heavy and substance light each time we get to it. So, I'm a little bit skeptical about it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's always good to sort of ignite the imagination of people and get them spending money coming up towards the Christmas period. I know they've got Prime Day and all sorts of different events that they try to stir people up with. I don't know whether it actually generates more sales or whether it just activates people to do their shopping sooner rather than later. I don't know. But it's always good. It's good to see there's different things going on. How many of them are really good deals and how many of them are just marketing hype, I don't know. There's certainly, they put in a few headline things that are probably good purchases, but if you're not planning to purchase them anyway, then you're just spending more money. So I don't know, you tell me. But it's just another day. It's always a good thing, but I think we've gone too far on the side of on marketing as far as I'm concerned. But hey, it's Amazon. They know what they're doing, so I'm sure they're getting results from it.
Yeah, for me, I've got to admit, I absolutely love it. I really do. I love the fact that they, us, because we're on this side, we're on the other side now. We're not just sort of customers. We're resellers. We take advantage of it. So, I think one of the biggest things that has always been so attractive for us selling on Amazon or anywhere else is the fact that they really do put in, I don't know what their marketing budgets and things are, but they do all the heavy lifting for us. So, I don't know how good the deals are. Me personally, it's not like I put any deals on within my online arbitrage business. I think maybe, some private label sellers, they may consider it, do lightning deals and things. But overall, I think it is positive for us as resellers. The fact that it's no longer sort of like Black Friday, and if this is right, if they kick off on the 16th of November, which is like what, next week or something, 11 days or so, that I think it is going to, I guess, devalue the whole sort of sale, because no longer it's just not one single day anymore. But having said that, for us, it's all exciting. I do think that we are on the big build up towards Christmas now. Now, today at the time of this recording, it's bonfire night. After bonfire night, everybody across the country will just start going, right, I've got to get ready for Christmas. I don't know how you're getting on with your Christmas shopping, Andy, but I haven't started.
I'm nowhere near that organized, Kev, to be honest with you, especially with online as well. I'm definitely leave it to the last couple of weeks and get it all done straight away. And luckily I am married and I have a very organized wife. So I wouldn't say I totally leave it up to her, but I've certainly got some good friends on my side to keep me on the straight and narrow when it comes to remembering everyone's different presents and things like that. But
I'll definitely be very interested in knowing what you guys think about Amazon extending the Black Friday. I know we've got Chris, Simon, and Andy with us live this evening. Let us know what you think in the comment section, and be interesting to know what everybody thinks.
Yeah, for sure. Good to see Chris in. How you doing, Chris? He's been asking some questions on the Reseller Show group this evening. We'll certainly be getting to those as well in due course. Right. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to our first topic. And just for you guys, if you don't know, if you ever want any topic, any questions, me and Andy will talk about absolutely anything on this show. Any topic, any question, anything that's important to you guys, you can send an email in anytime at live@resellershow.com. And you can also invite yourself to the Facebook group that's there for the community. And we've had some great topics, some great questions sent for this week, so I really do appreciate it. The first topic is about Amazon loans. And I thought it'd be good to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of Amazon loans. If you're not aware what Amazon loans is, it's basically Amazon. They try to help sellers on the platform by offering loans, and the loans can be small to quite substantial as well. Some big loans, and we can talk about some figures shortly. But it's actually quite good for somebody that's maybe not heard of Amazon loans to speak about, well, what does it need for you to be invited to an Amazon loan, because it's not something you can just apply for, and what are the pros and cons. So what's your experience with Amazon loans, Andy?
Yeah, I've been offered a few over the years, to be honest with you, here and there. I've been quite lucky with my sort of credit lines over the years. I've had some very good interest-free credit cards, and I got on that bandwagon when the interest rates sort of crashed about 10 years ago. And luckily, money has been very cheap, and it's almost like the more you ask for credit cards and the more you operate them correctly, the more people want to loan you money. So I've had a lot of interest-free credit cards, and I've got cards with 30-odd thousand pound credit limits on them, and been able to make use of a very good favorable interest-free periods for 20 sort of 4 months and 18 months and so on and so forth. So I've never found it necessary to take any of the Amazon loans when I've got those available to me. When I've wanted them, I've made use of them. But I think, I certainly wouldn't. I would certainly look at them if I needed the money and it worked out okay for me. I would certainly look at it. Ultimately, credit is a good thing if it's managed properly, and you pay attention to what you're borrowing and make sure you pay it back in the right time. Then it's not a bad thing. I think we're conditioned as the public to be wary of credit, but if that's because you're going to buy a massive TV and a sofa with it, then it's a different thing as to using it within your business, which is obviously the more you borrow and the more you use, you can actually use it to make you more money. So it's an asset to your business, as long as you do use it carefully and you go into it with your eyes open. But yes, personally, I've not accepted them, but I know you have, Kev. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you've got on with them in the past?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose just to set a bit of foundation here, like Andy just said, with the credit, I think credit is positive. I think getting capital, external capital for your business is a positive thing if you manage it, if you plan it correctly. The last thing you want to be doing is taking any type of funding and then just spending it on decorating your office or something. That's not actually going to make you money. I was first introduced to Amazon loans it was maybe like 12 months into my Amazon journey. All of a sudden, I opened up the my Seller Central, and there's a nice little window that pops up on the right hand side called Amazon Lending, and it will tell you a figure and how long you've been offered it. So the first one that I got was something like £1,200 or something over 6 months, and then it increased to sort of 6,000. Then it increased a little bit more to sort of 16,000, up into the point where I actually accepted a loan above 50,000. It was actually £52,000 over a 6-month period, and there's some big pros and there's some big cons that come with that. Obviously, it's a substantial amount of money. It's a great bit of chunk of money that you can put to work. It can definitely, I mean, think about what Amazon are trying to do here. From Amazon's point of view, Amazon are, they've got so much money. They're just trying to make use out of it for their business. They're like, we've got so much money, let's just give it to our sellers, because it's a win-win for them. If they give somebody £50,000 and another person £100,000, and they double, triple, quadruple their business, it's also helping Amazon. So it's genius from Amazon's point of view. They also have an incredible amount of security, Amazon, because they've got your stock. So that's what they secure it up against. You know, so if you've accepted £10,000 and then you just sort of walk away or something, they'll just take your stock, the value of the stock. So there is some cons there. What basically happened for me is I actually ended up letting the Amazon loans run out. It got to £50,000 over 6 months, and I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to let this run out, because there is a con that's involved with Amazon loans. If, for example, you get to a point where you're reliant on the loans, let's say, because Amazon, they tend to refinance quite often. So like they might offer you a loan over 6 months, and then after 3 months of paying back the installments, they might just refinance it and they top you back up. Well, with that is fantastic, because you can continue to invest in your business. But another thing that can come with that is if you're not managing your finances correctly, if maybe your expenses are too high and you're now reliant on the Amazon loans. So one thing that I did is I actually wanted to basically pay Amazon all back, which I did, just to not have that over my head. It wasn't one of the pros to it is, I don't know how real this is, but Amazon will not actually offer you anything unless your Seller Central account is squeaky clean. Like if you've got a bad Seller Central account, whatever reason your account health is not very good, they are not offering you anything, because obviously they're not willing to give their money away to somebody that's maybe not giving a customer a good experience. On the other hand, it also, I believe, goes into your favor if you do accept some money from Amazon. They're obviously invested in you. They want you to succeed. So does that give you some additional protection against suspensions, etc.? I don't know. Maybe so. If Amazon may not want to suspend you if they've got £20,000 in your account. They might want to get you continue selling. They might, I think if it's something significantly like, I don't know. I don't know how they rate what is a really like an instant suspension. I'm not too sure, but there is pros and cons. And the reason why this came about is because I paid off the loan, and then just recently they offered me then £90,000, which is, again, it's like a house. Like is the value of a house. Do something with it. So you usually get like a good month to decide whether you want to take it or not. I also recommend that you do huge amounts of planning for it, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of money that they're going to ask back very quickly. It's not like a bank loan where you maybe have it for 5 years or something. This is like £90,000 over 9 months. Like that's a substantial amount of money that you're having to pay back every single month. So you're going to have to make sure that you invest it wisely into stock that's going to make you more money. You got to make sure that you got the sales there to be able to repay it, because they'll just not disperse any money until they've taken their money back. So I think it is. I'd love to know what any other people's experience has been with Amazon loans. I think there is some great cons. There's some great pros, and it's really up to. One thing I would say is Amazon are a fantastic company in terms of they do want us to succeed. I mean, if we succeed, they succeed. So the fact that they're willing just to give a substantial amount of money and give you that opportunity, I mean, it's amazing.
It is. It's definitely a good sign you're on the right track if they're offering it to you. But as Kev says, you do have to, especially when the amounts get up, you do have to really be on the ball, because what you don't want is that stress that you've got to keep those repayments up. If it's giving too much anxiety or stress, then maybe you might want to give it some other sort of consideration. But it's definitely, ultimately money makes more money. Once you understand this process that we're all dealing with Amazon, once you understand the data, it's just about trying to feed a funnel and try to scale and do more and buy more and find more opportunities. So if you have the capital side of it ticked off and you say, right, okay, I've got enough money to be able to buy all the orders I want to, and I've got the the capability, whether that's virtual assistants or staff, to be able to help me fulfill those orders and process them, then your business is going to grow. It's just as simple as that. So it can be a massive asset if you want to. If your aim is to grow to a certain stage, then you need the capital to be able to do it for sure. It's definitely something.
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree with.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've always said is we as resellers, especially when it comes to selling on Amazon, we have major bottlenecks that we have to overcome at every level. Whether you are just starting out, you just want to get your first sales, whether you just want to reach milestones. We all want to reach milestones, whether it's £1,000 sales in 30 days, whether it's 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. We all have different goals. When you reach one goal, you want to reach the other goal, the next goal. And at every level, in my experience, the more you scale, there's different bottlenecks that you're going to experience. You may have a bottleneck of time. Time is a major problem for all of us. I remember very well for the first 6 months when I was still working full time, trying to build my Amazon business while having a 6-month-year-old, I had no time. Time is a major bottleneck for all of us. We've all got busy lives. Another one would be maybe space. If you might be in a situation where, I know I certainly was, working from home, I had boxes in my hallway, in my bathroom, in my bedroom. It was all overflowing into the back garden. Space is a bottleneck. If you can then, to get to that next level, cash is definitely a bottleneck. The more money you've got available, the more you've got that resource to put to work. So I think when it comes to financial like loans, I think they can get you to that sort of next level. It's all about really understanding where you're at. There's no point, for example, if your bottleneck is time and you're struggling to maybe get enough done as it is, then maybe getting a £30,000 loan is not actually going to help you all that much, because you can't get through everything that you've got on already. Whereas maybe, for example, let's say you've got a bottleneck of space and you just need to get out your house and you maybe need to take the leap into a warehouse or something. Having an influx of capital might actually release that bottleneck for you. So you get out into a warehouse and then all of a sudden you've got this space. You can now get maybe more processes and more systems in place to get you to that next level. So I think in terms of knowing where you're at in the business and that all comes with the planning on what you're going to do with the money, Andy.
Yeah, for sure. It's you have to get each of those boxes ticked to be able to scale. Ultimately, you do have to make sure that you release the next bottleneck. So money is obviously a massive part of it. You can't build a large scale business without some sort of credit line, unless you've just got a lot of money in the bank, in which case it's not making you any interest. You as well make it work for you. So that's great too. And
of course you need the products, and of course you need the product. It's all well and good having £20,000 in the bank, but if you haven't got the products, you're not spending it. So there's a lot that goes involved.
Yeah, exactly. It's all luckily it's all a process, and it's a case of tackling the next thing on the list, and working your way through those little hurdles, and finding your way through. But the good thing is, once you fix each one of those hurdles, you're going to have a very decent, profitable business on your hands. So it's worth taking your time, and you're working your way through for sure.
Definitely.
Right, shall we move on? Have we got some questions we want to look at here?
Yeah, we have Chris sent a question into the Facebook group this week, which was a great question. It was, would you guys consider doing an episode about moving away from the main Amazon and eBay platforms? Maybe some ways in which you would move to your own e-com website rather than rely on the main platforms. If done right, it could give you a solid rock business that nobody could just flip the switch on or off. It's a great question.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I would agree with that. I think, especially if we're working on the Amazon platform, it is ultimately someone else that controls your sales. We like to think it's not going to happen, but the reality of it is we don't have control of whether they take the count away. Now, if you keep everything running smoothly, let's not get too many scare stories going on. If everything runs smoothly, everything runs well, I like to think it's going to be there. I've said it before in previous episodes, Amazon needs its reseller network to work. It will wipe out 50% of its stock if it turned the resellers off. So it's not like they're doing us a favor. We're making a massive part of the business. So it's not like that we're just at their whim. We are integral to the business. I think we are always going to be integral to the business. So it's not like we're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. But things can change. They may well gate certain categories. Quite often when they've done it in the past, sellers get grandfathered in. So if you've been selling in a category already, quite often they will close it there and you remain in that category. So, looking back over the years, it's a relatively stable platform. And, I like to be optimistic and say, it's going to be around for many years to come. There's always going to be opportunities for us. But having said that, when you don't have control over it, it's always important to think about the worst case scenario and say, okay, what would happen if my sales got turned off tomorrow? Do I have another backup income source? Do I have a couple of different places where I'm getting income from? And I think it's always a good idea to have other revenue streams and not put all your eggs in one basket. It always has been, always will be. And there are many different ways you can do that. You can do that from e-commerce platforms. You can do that from having your own content streams like myself and Kev do. You can build mailing lists. You can sell Amazon t-shirts on the merch platform. Okay, it's Amazon, but it's a totally different platform, which is not connected to your Amazon seller account. So that I would call that as a separate individual income stream. There's physical products, there's digital products. There are so many different things that you can invest in and look into. So I would definitely agree with that. As if you are building a retail or online arbitrage business, certainly focus is important. So make sure you are into profit and you're making money. But once you get to a certain point in your business, it's definitely a good idea to spend a percentage of your time looking at different opportunities, looking at maybe building an e-commerce website, looking at building a little niche product that you could build out, and maybe use social media to help you promote. There's so many opportunities, and it's something I definitely want to cover on the Reseller Show in the future. I've got a lot of colleagues in the industry that sell on all these different platforms, and it would be great to have them on and chat to them about these different platforms and how we can get into them, and maybe we can help you get into some of these different platforms, because yes, it's a good idea is the answer to that question, Chris. What are your thoughts, Kev?
Well, I think you covered it a lot there. I think that's a fantastic answer there, Andy. One thing that comes to my mind there is the word anticipation. For us, we've got to anticipate the future, and if there's a difference between you doing this alongside your full-time job and then you leaving your full-time job and then becoming reliant on a platform like Amazon or eBay or anybody else. I think it's very, very important for us as the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the guys that are the leaders of our businesses to be very, very good at predicting the future, without, this isn't to scare anybody off or anything, but the reality is, Amazon do control us, but what we can control is like Andy said, we can control the account health. Like, I have systems in place within my operations that gives me the control of the health. Like, we do all the product checks, we make sure that we get the invoices, we do all our research. We have multiple layers of protection in the business, from sourcing all the way to shipping, to make sure that we're looking after our account, customer feedback, making sure that, we're checking. There's Amazon give you all the information. Even if you do get products returned, customer concessions report, you look at those reports and see, do you have a problem here? Somebody returns something that's maybe not as described, and you are then acting. You're trying to be proactive, not reactive. I think that's probably one of the best things we can do. Just try to be as proactive as possible. And one of the things that ultimately allows us to be proactive is, if you're building a business on Amazon, you've got to be proactive in anticipating that maybe in the future that leg to your stool may not be there. So you may have to start putting some work in on trying to build something else. Now, there's a fine line between trying to do everything and not getting anything done. I remember personally in the January of 2016, I just come out of my electrical engineering job, had all this spare time. Now, it was fantastic. And I tried everything, Andy. I was on Kindle. I want to get my Kindle business going. I want my merch by Amazon. This is when merch by Amazon was literally only about 2 or 3 months old. I got my account very, very early on. I tried doing that. I tried doing all these different things. And what happened is my Amazon account, my Amazon business, and I was like, I've got to get to the US. So I tried doing online arbitrage in the US as well. So I was like so stretched out and I got nothing done. And I very quickly realized that within like the first 6 weeks of me being out of my job, I was like, hang on a minute. I need to just focus on this one thing at a time. I need to focus on my systems, on making sure that my relationship with Amazon is the best it possibly can be. I understand. I know it's probably, it's one of the biggest fears, I guess, for all of us in terms of Amazon being able to flick on the switch on or off, or eBay. I imagine eBay is very, very similar. They can just probably switch on your store on and off. But I think it's all about just being as proactive as possible, building systems in your business, and really just doing one thing at a time. Just doing one thing at a time, And I think that's probably ultimately. I think for all of us, ultimately, it would be it's all about using Amazon, not relying on Amazon. Using eBay, not relying on eBay. So with that comes, I think everybody should at least. And the only reason why I say this is because I've been doing it for the last 2 years since I quit my job. You should be spending at least 30 minutes to 1 hour per day on probably something else alongside your Amazon business, if you are definitely reliant on it as well. If you've got to the point where you've quit your job, you've now got all this additional time anyway, which means a proportion of that time needs to be focused on something else. But I think it's all about being proactive and anticipation. That's this.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And in fact, you hit on the focus thing, which is obviously really important. And I think we could make a whole episode out of focus. It's definitely something. We are human. Ultimately, we get shiny object syndrome. There are so many opportunities out there, so many things that we could do to make money. I see it in myself. I see it in my students that I help. I show them, and they get onto a really good course of action, and then I see them asking me questions about this and that and the other, and I have to sometimes just pull them up and say, look, I can see you're getting distracted. It's really important at this time specifically. whilst you're building the business, you can't get too distracted. So focus on one thing at a time, spend 80 to 90% of your time building one thing, learn it, understand it, get really good at it, really understand the whole system first, get that up and running. Then look at private label if you want to, then look at wholesale, then look at e-commerce and things like that. Start making money. And then whilst you're making money, you're being paid to look at other avenues. Definitely important. I suffered from it several times and still have to catch myself and say, no, I'd like to do that, but maybe I'll do that later. I'm still focusing on this thing at the moment. And it's important. It is human nature, but it's so important. I love this analogy that someone told me once of a well. You know, those old fashioned pumps in a well, the big things with a big handle, and you've got to pump the handle up and down to get the water out of the well. And if you pump that thing, basically, if you try and get the water, what you're doing, you're pumping this big heavy thing up and down, up and down, up and down, and nothing happens. You're just pumping it because it's coming from a long way underground. So you're pumping and pumping and nothing happens. And it's the same sort of thing. People try and get the water out of the well and they're pumping and pumping and nothing happens. And if you then, the water's getting there, but if you stop before the water comes out, then it just drains back down again and goes away. But if you were to persevere and keep pumping, eventually the water comes out of from the well and comes out. And then not only does it start coming out, is the sort of siphon method means it keeps coming, it keeps coming, and keeps coming, and then it's gushing out. And only because you persevered when nothing was happening, when you kept using the pump while nothing was happening, you persevered and you focused on that one thing and that one goal, and then you got the results. But if you stopped halfway or you thought nothing's happening, this is no good, and you went and did something else, it never would have happened. And it's a great way to look at it. Or like pushing a car, if your car's broken down, you're trying to push it up a hill. You can't push a car up a hill a bit, can you? You have to start the job and finish the job. It sounds obvious, but I'm a big sort of fan of focus, because it's been a big challenge in my life, and I must admit I see it every day. It's probably the one killer of people starting up in their businesses, is getting distracted before they follow through. So that's my I absolutely love that with the water in the well. I think you're absolutely right. I think you've got to say no more than yes. You've got to get used to saying no. In fact, you've got to get used to unsubscribing and getting rid of like all the shiny objects. Try to be as narrow focused as possible while you're building, while you're in that pumping the well phase. You've got to get rid of everything. And the best thing that I can say is like, that's exactly what I did. I was like, any email that I got through in my inbox that wasn't to do with me building my online arbitrage business, that was it. I was unsubscribing. I don't want to know that. I don't even want to be tempted. Be proactive on being. I think Jim Rohn had a fantastic quote saying, stand guard at the entrance of your mind. You've got to really stand guard. You've got to be deflective of as many things as possible. You've got to really be on it, building your business to the point where it will maintain. Like you said, Andy, you can't push a car up a hill a little bit. You got to finish the job. You got to get there, and then one thing that I always like to say, you got to then start putting a system in. You got to get somebody in place to basically continue pushing that car, so you can then focus on something else, so it keeps going. I just wanted to do another analogy that I thought was brilliant the other day, and I believe it was from a book called Clockwork, and I've not read the book yet, so I've literally just got it on my Kindle. I'm going to be reading it later on. But there was the analogy on there was about the queen bee, it's about the queen bee's objective is simply just to keep the colony just keep reproducing. And then you've got all the other bees doing all the work around the queen bee. If the queen bee started going, I want to muck in with all the other bees, that's going to affect the entire colony. Her objective is to keep the entire generation of bees continuing. That's her focus. If she got distracted saying, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, it would affect the entire operation. So one of the things that I absolutely loved about that was
asking yourself the question, like, what is that one thing that you need to focus on, that if you start to get yourself distracted, what is the effect of that? And then you can start to hierarchy things that you're doing. Like, are you doing things that's not really that important? Are you doing things, are you avoiding doing things that's really, really important? And I think that's a great discussion to have in itself, within yourself, your team, if you've got a team, and all the rest of it. So, I think it's focus, like laser focus is very important.
Yeah, I think we should definitely have a productivity podcast at some point and just devote the whole podcast to productivity, because there's so many golden nuggets in that whole system, where there's so many opportunities to improve your working situation by just remembering a few things, planning correctly, and certainly I really enjoy learning more and more I can about being an efficient worker and trying to find new ways of being more efficient and getting more out of my time every day. So we could spend a whole hour just talking about productivity and efficiency and self-growth, because ultimately the more you can effectively do in a day, then the more money you can make. So it's definitely a good subject for another session. But Chris in the comments says laser focus. It's really important. It is really important. I know it was we digressed a little bit from what we were talking about, which is creating a second revenue stream, but it's really important. And that's what I love about this podcast. We've got the time to sort of like deviate a little bit and go into detail. And so it's really important. And for sure, Chris, I would agree, setting up e-commerce website, really good idea. Look at a few different ideas, think about what's best suits you, have a think about it, and then choose one other thing and then learn about it. And as Kev said, devote some time every week, either half an hour a day or a few hours a week, whichever suits you and your scenario, and devote that time. There should always be time in your week, in your day, that you're doing maintenance tasks. I think that was part of your training, Kev, wasn't it? Maintenance tasks, growth tasks. And so the things that are maintaining your business, like sourcing and shipping, and things that are growing your business to ultimately get further along, you need to learn more things and learn more techniques and things like that.
I could talk about that all day, Andy. I really could. I mean,
we probably should get into that.
Yeah, I know. I could talk about that all day, because it's so important. That came from my electrical engineering days, where every day my team in part of electrical engineering was, we either have maintenance tasks or we have installation tasks. That's what it was. It was either we're maintaining machinery or we're installing machinery. And then when I got into the entrepreneurship journey, it was, okay, how do I maintain my business? And instead of installing systems, although I am installing systems in my business, I called it my growth tasks in my business. So I think it's so important. It comes back to that self-awareness and knowing, what your task is. And unfortunately, we have so many roles as entrepreneurs. We have to be the visionary of the future. We have to be the manager. We have to be everybody. And I think we should definitely do an episode just of reselling productivity, probably.
Yeah, it's a big thing, because a lot of us have, I've been the person who runs my own business for, I don't know, since I was in my early 20s. I can't even remember, for a long time. But a lot of people don't come from the world of business, and most of us don't necessarily come from the world of business management. And the idea of being able to juggle 7 different balls in the air at the same time, and be the manager and be the employee and be all the different roles, and do the finance and everything else like that, and be the accountant. There's a lot to learn and a lot to juggle and a lot to be able to do efficiently all the time, so it is a lot to learn. And it's not surprising that there's a lot of space to grow in that sort of area. So it's definitely a good thing to spend some time, try to get better at, and trying to sort of take a step back and look at your business, rather than just getting buried in the everyday work, because it's easy to be busy and not necessarily be effective. So just because you're busy all day long doesn't mean you could be spending that time in a better way. So definitely something we'll cover in future sessions, for sure.
And just to finally add, I think it's also important to remember that, and as we all know, things take time. It takes a long time to build something that's meaningful, something that's like useful for you and your life and the things that you're trying to do. So, I think it's just a case of just working at it every day, and you'll be surprised on what happens over, you'll look back 12 months later and you'll think, bloody, oh wow, I've done something good here. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's great to have it. And of course, it's great to be in a community like this where, we all get around a virtual table like this, and we just talk everything, really. Yeah. Learn from each other.
Exactly. And everyone's got something to add in certain areas. And, in terms of the reseller community, in your community, Kev, and my community, we've got specialists in so many different areas of life. It's fantastic because everyone has their own speciality that they work in. From your engineering background, Kev, you've got so much to offer and share through your planning and your procedural knowledge, which is fantastic. And we've got so many different talents in the group. That's why together we could be so much more and so much more powerful, because everyone can learn something from everyone else. And that's what I love. I've learned so many things from my own students that I've taken through the Amazon coaching program, and they've taught me so many things from their line of work. In fact, someone who's probably listening to this back on the podcast works actually in Formula One. In fact, I think he's just quit his job in Formula One to spend more time on his Amazon business. But there's so many people with really interesting jobs, and that guy will have a unique set of skills that I know will do him really well in his business. He's already made a fantastic start and doing very well indeed. And that's what I love about this community, is so many interesting people with so many interesting talents. So it's great. I love hanging out with everyone.
Yeah, I love it too. And literally like you said, the thing is we're all so unique. We've all got different lives. We all have different setups. We've all we've got families, and some married, and we've got busy lives. Some people work shifts, some people work days, and all the rest of it. And we've all got unique lives, and it's a case of really focusing in on what makes you, and real knuckle down on your strength. That's one of the things that I learned, I think, is focus on the strengths. Don't try to make your weaknesses better. For me, I was like, I'm focusing on my strength, and I'm trying to outsource and get people in to help me where I'm weak, instead of trying to get better at where I'm weak. And it's got to keep working every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't beat yourself up over it as well, because it's impossible as humans to be good at all the different things. And if you're not good at something and you struggle with it, then that's cool. Everyone does. So I identify that, highlight that, and say, okay, how can I have someone else do that for me? Is there some way of outsourcing that particular thing? I don't like it. I'm not very good at it. Fine. You get someone else to do it. And as Kev says, concentrate on the things you're good at, and identify those things you enjoy. Quite often you enjoy the things you're good at. So push deep on those things and try and outsource the others. And then your business will grow so much faster, because you're not making yourself miserable, for one thing, and secondly, someone can do it faster and easier than you can. So give them a chance and do the things that you enjoy doing. Life's too short, Kev.
Exactly.
Right, should we? Sorry, did you have something to finish off?
No. Shall we continue?
I think we should. Time is moving on swiftly, and we've got a few more questions to cover, I think, don't we?
Yeah. There was a question on from Simon, and he said, "Hi guys, there was an interesting post on Kev's Facebook page the other day where somebody had been suspended, and Kevin was going on about the importance of invoices and documentation. Are invoices and receipts the same thing? What should we be aware of? And Kev, you also mentioned that you should get out of OA as soon as possible, in quotations. Could you expand on that?" So yeah, I mean, I'll go straight into this, Andy, just to clear some of these points up. I think this week has been a hot topic. I think there's been a number of conversations across the groups of the importance of documentation, and what I mentioned just to bring everybody up to speed in the context of what this conversation was about, by me saying get out of OA as soon as possible. That wasn't me saying get out of online arbitrage. The business model is no more, get out. It was basically saying that us as owners we need to extract ourselves from the OA business model as quickly as possible. So you could focus on other things like we've spoken about a little bit earlier on. If you are heavily inside your business, which we all are, when we're first starting out, we're heavily involved in the online arbitrage business. We're trying to do everything from sourcing and purchasing and shipping, and we're trying to do everything. The issue that I find now is, I think with Amazon, you don't want to be solely reliant on Amazon, like we've already mentioned. So if you can extract yourself from your operations as quickly and as profitably as possible, then it allows you to focus on other income streams, or it allows you to focus on, like Andy said earlier, about maybe merch, or maybe going onto your own e-com website. You can start building the website alongside, because now you've got maybe somebody in place to do your sourcing or purchasing. I think I said this maybe a couple of months ago. If you gave me the choice of, Kev, you're working 100% in your business, in your online arbitrage business, and you're going to get paid, £50,000 a year, or would you not work in your business, but you're only going to take £5,000 a year? I'll take the 5,000, because I can use that 5,000. I can use the time to get to $500,000 a year, because I'll just build other businesses. I'll build more systems. So I think for anybody I think online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, wholesale, all these business models, I think they've all got the potential for somebody to get to a point where they want to quit the job. There's been so many people that have been able to quit their job from this. How amazing is that? What the opportunity that Amazon have given us. But as I say, for the long-term security of our lives, our personal lives, it's just like, maybe if you're in a full-time career like me, I was an electrical engineer. Everybody around me was saying, oh, you're an electrical engineer. You got such a great job. You got such a safe job. And then I went into a conference, a web conference, of the owner of the business saying that one of the plants were going to shut down, and it was like a roll of the dice whether we're going to have a job or not. So it's one of those things where, for me, the biggest thing I would say is you got to take control of your own destiny, and that's how I'll sort of like try getting out of your online arbitrage operations as quickly as possible, which will allow you to maybe focus on private label or Shopify or whatever you want to, really. So that's me just expanding on that. I still think there's some fantastic. I mean, there's so many success stories now. So many people just getting started today. I know Amazon. I've already said, I think Amazon is more difficult now than it was in 2015, but 2015 was probably more difficult than it was in 2014, and so on, because of the documentation requirements and ungating requirements and all these things. So yeah, to answer the question about the invoices and receipts, the same thing. When you say they're not the same thing, like the receipt, let's say you make a purchase online, or you go into a store and you pay for something, and you then get a receipt from the checkout counter, or an email receipt or whatever. That's not the same as like you requesting a VAT invoice that somebody will send you. That's got like your VAT number on. It's got all the details and everything on. So it is different. If you're VAT registered in the UK, you need to have VAT invoices for all your orders. That's how, if you were to get investigated for tax purposes, let's say you are claiming back a certain amount of value in stock, they're going to want to, you could get a letter through the door saying, we're going to come and investigate your business, and you're going to have to provide all your VAT invoices. I personally have no experience with being investigated. I know for a fact that I work with my accountant to make sure that we get everything in place for documentation. There was a conversation where what all this came about was somebody being suspended for not being able to provide the documentation for a product that was being sold. So Amazon, from time to time, if they've got calls to, they may request documentation from you regarding a product that you're selling. So let's say, for example, And unfortunately, we live in the world where these things happen. Let's say somebody puts a claim in against you. If you're maybe selling a product that you've sourced, and somebody puts a claim in saying that you're selling something maybe that you shouldn't be doing, like IP infringement, somebody may accuse you of selling maybe fake products or anything like that. Amazon are always going to protect themselves. They don't want any shady sellers, and quite rightly so. We want to have a safe marketplace. So if somebody says to you, you might be in. I think we're all, anybody that's listening to this and anybody that's here right now, we're all honest and decent people. We're not here to con anybody or con Amazon or anything. But somebody out there might accuse you wrongfully, saying that you're selling a fake product, and Amazon are then going to investigate that and say, show me your documentation. So we need to be in a position to be able to provide that documentation. Over the years, I've been asked over 10 times at least of this particular item, can you provide your documentation? And fortunately, I've always been able to provide the documentation because I've got a system in place to make sure that we request for invoices all the time. This is one of the things that I always look at myself. Have we requested invoices? Have we got invoices? Are we chasing up invoices? You might have a store that you email, can I have a VAT invoice? And they may not even get back to you. So you've got to have a chase up system in place to say, I'm going to call you. I'm going to find, and there's some deadlines as well. So let's say, for example, you don't request an invoice within a 30-day period. Afterwards, they'll just say, we're not giving you the invoice, because they're not legally obliged to give you the invoice after a certain time period. Now, everybody, let's say I did a service for Andy, and Andy said, Kev, could you give me an invoice for this? I am legally obliged to give Andy an invoice for the services that I might render to him, because then Andy needs to use that for his accounting purposes to claim back, VAT and use that for his books. So wherever your supplier is, they're legally obliged to actually provide you with your documentation. You may need to put systems in place to make sure you email in after every order, call in after every order, or whatever your system that you want to create. You've just got to make sure that you do your best to put a system in place to capture all this. And just to add here, Jonathan saying, are you saying that receipts are not good enough? Is it proof of purchase? It is proof of purchase, surely. Now, this is where you're working with Amazon. So Amazon, they may not accept that receipt, and I think there's countless reasons. What I do is every time that I've been asked for any type of documentation, I've sent everything. I've actually sent the invoice as well as the receipt. I've sent it all. I've never been in a position where I've just sent a receipt, so I can't actually comment on whether that was ever accepted or not. But I'm hearing just from looking at the groups and things, that's most likely not going to be good enough anymore.
There's a couple. I just want to jump in there, Kev.
Sure.
A couple of different scenarios here, because in terms of accounting, if you are trying to get hold of receipts and invoices for accounting purposes for your tax, if you have a retail receipt, you've gone into a store and you've bought something and they've given you a receipt, most 99% of receipts will have the company VAT number at the bottom of the receipt or on the back of it. Now, from accounting terms, that is good enough as an invoice. Okay, so it shows you how much you've paid, and the VAT number is on there. So if that's the only thing you've got, you can use that in your accounting procedure. Now, in terms of talking to Amazon, you need to show them that you have legitimately bought an item. If it is a dispute about the authenticity of something, I think you're probably okay if you've got a legitimate till receipt from because you've physically gone to a store and bought it rather than bought it online, then I think you're probably okay with a till receipt. Now, in terms of if you need to provide an invoice to get ungated in a category, then most of them they're not allowing receipts as a proof as a type of invoice. You need like a wholesaler invoice and stuff. So different grey areas, different scenarios. But if you're specifically talking about a situation where you've been flagged as selling potentially counterfeit items or an IP claim, I think you're probably okay if you've got the original till receipt that shows you that you've bought it from a store. You're probably okay because at least shows that you've gone down an official line. So that's my take on it anyway. I don't know what you think there, Kev.
No, I think you're right. I mean, like I said, I've always been in a position. Anytime I was requested documentation, I've just sent everything that I've got. You know, I've sent the receipt as well as the invoice. Amazon have never got back to me saying, you know, I've accepted just your receipt or I've accepted just your invoice. You know, I think the reality is, I think you're going to have some documentation is obviously better than no documentation. You know, so if you're doing retail arbitrage, make sure you're keeping all your receipts, making sure make sure that you. The great thing with doing online, online orders, you're going to get an email sent to you of a confirmation and a receipt that way as well. So, you know, I think to sort of to talk a lot, you know, just to sort of say with you just make sure you've got the receipt. Use that. It all depends on what the scenario is. Like Andy was saying, you know, if you're trying to get ungated, I'm convinced that that's not working anymore with just normal retailers. Back in 2015, when I was getting myself ungated, I was ungated from just normal receipts. That's how things have changed through the years with Amazon. So I believe it has got a little bit more difficult, especially when ungating purposes. You know, for VAT purposes, like obviously you've got to be VAT registered. It doesn't actually matter if you're not VAT registered, you're not doing quarterly returns, then, you know, nobody's ever going to say to you, show me your VAT invoices, because it's not actually applicable for you right now. It's only when you go over that threshold and then you are VAT registered, and now you need your invoices to claim back on the purchases that you're making. You know, so I think it is. I think this is where, you know, this is where one of the things that I'm focusing on is I've got my online arbitrage operations, but me personally, my future is more towards wholesale. You know, I'm not saying I'm never gonna. I'm not saying that I've stopped online arbitrage. I'll never will stop online arbitrage. But my focus is getting more towards wholesale, where wholesale you don't really have this issue at all because you get everything that you need all the time.
Yeah, I think from you guys that are asking about receipts and stuff like that, if you're not VAT registered, I don't think you've got any problem. If you shop in Argos and they give you a receipt, keep the receipt. That will be fine. If it's not itemized, I don't think, if you want to do belt and braces, you get home with a receipt and it just gives you the amounts. If you want to write on an A4 sheet of paper or do it on a Word document, however you want to do it, just itemize in a spreadsheet. Probably you're going to spreadsheet it anyway. Just itemize those individual items with the prices on there. Then you've just got a little bit more detail on those receipts, and then have a system where you can maybe staple that rundown of the items to your receipt. Then you've got a really nice belt and braces sort of setup. But yes, it's generally once you're VAT registered, you're going to be wanting to hunt around specifically for VAT receipts. But in terms of non-VAT registered, just keep hold of the receipt. If there is any problem, I imagine Amazon won't then say, where's your, where is your invoice? If you've legitimately gone to a store like Argos, if that's where you've gone, that's what they give you. So having said that, I think a lot of stores now, Halfords and Argos, they do say, would you like to give us your email address, and we'll email you a receipt. But then again, it's probably going to have the same information on. So yeah, either way, I think it will be fine is the answer to that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It all depends on what the scenario is. I mean, I think it goes back to the having multiple layers of protection in. One of the things that we focus on is it's so important to make sure you're checking, obviously, the authenticity of products. You know, there's many dodgy websites out there. You can find that there is dodgy websites that may sell you some stuff that you don't want to be shipping into Amazon. So you got to make sure that you've got at least some type of verification in place where, you know, I literally have, it's a in the warehouse we have a one of the girls, Kaylee, she does the labeling, and then we have another person doing the boxing. So it's like a double layer of protection there. So it's not just like one person looking at a product and then one person boxing that product. There's two eyes it goes through, which means that if any one of them says, "Oh, hang on a minute, this don't look quite right," or "This is what's going on here," you know, it gets flagged up and we discuss it. We all we get around it, send a picture, do whatever. Do you know what I mean? If in doubt, obviously don't ship it. You know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is. You know, there's going to be some. I think it's a complex conversation. There's many scenarios. There's many things to talk about. There's many things that could potentially happen. But I think the great thing is this is just, it's a great platform to get this conversation started. So if there's anybody that's listening this back or watching this back, you know, join in the conversation. Let us know what your experience has been, and what experiences that you've had, and what you found, and what challenges that you had, and we can all learn from this and grow.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think we've probably got to the bottom of that one with in terms of keeping hold of things. I think in terms of getting ungated receipts, that whole thing's long gone now. Unfortunately, you used to be able to just buy some stuff, send in a receipt, and that was good. But I think they've cottoned on to that and say, you know, the whole point of being ungated now, they want to see that you're making orders from a wholesaler, and so they're looking for letter-headed wholesale invoices these days from certain places. Jonathan's saying he had to order from Harrison's delivered wholesale to get an invoice to get ungated in topicals category. They refused to accept his online arbitrage Superdrug online receipts, which is they recognized it as a retailer rather than a wholesaler. So yeah, in terms of getting ungated, you've got to be looking for wholesalers. Otherwise, if you're just keeping receipts for your online arbitrage, I think as long as you're keeping the receipts, then you've got something to show if there is any problem. But yeah, I'd be interested in anyone listening to this, if anyone's had anything flagged up as an issue with an IP claim or something. Have you used a receipt and got that accepted? I mean, I've only ever used invoices because that's what I happen to have. But you know, I'm quite happy. I always keep my receipts. I'm quite often hunting around the clearance aisles in supermarkets when I'm in there because I can't help myself. So I'm always keeping receipts, and so if I had a problem, I would have those receipts, and I would certainly expect them to resolve that based on the details.
And that's it. I mean, just to add, I might put it in the show notes. I think I shared a video of an actual scenario where I was issued a policy warning for Amazon saying that I was selling a generic product, and this was exactly the same scenario. I was requested to show documentation for a product that I was actually selling from the range, and I've got the video on my YouTube channel, which I'll put in the show notes, so you can, because I go in detail breaking down what actually happened, what I provided. I shared with them the documentation that I had, and Amazon got back giving me a policy warning saying that you are selling a generic product. They didn't suspend me or anything. They gave me a policy warning saying that for me, it looked exactly the same. And like I said, I broke it all down in detail in this video. The product was exactly the same. They were just saying that I was selling a generic product. But the most important thing was I was able to send them some documentation, you know, so, you know, if you, like Andy said, keep your receipts, scan your receipts, you know, use an app to scan them or put them on the drive. You know, I always, it all depends on what you want to do with your bookkeeping, but I always have a reference column. So we reference absolutely everything. So when we do get a receipt, it's actually saved as that reference, which allows you to very quickly find that receipt again. You know, so if Amazon say, where's your documentation? I'm searching directly for that product. It comes up with a reference, and then I know straight away in my folder, search for that number, and there it is. it's very, instead of looking through a big pile of receipts and things, just use maybe a reference system or something, and it might save you a bit of time as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes perfect sense to me. Alrighty, so that, I think we've pretty much put that one to bed. Kev, do we have any more questions, or has that wrapped it up for this evening?
No, I think that's wrapped it up.
Yep. Is there anything else we want to chat about? Oh, the eBay challenge we had last week, didn't we? So we probably need to update that. How have we been getting on over your end, Kev?
I'll be honest. I've made little progress. Let's just say I didn't have laser focus on it this week. But what I have done, to be fair, I have got a pile. I've got a pile in my son's room now that just need to be listed. So I am going to be making some progress on that, ready for Black Friday.
Well, I can't, to be honest with you, I can't rub it in too much because I've been in and I have sorted out some stuff in the garage. I have listed a few items, but I put them on Buy It Now. I haven't done any 7-day listings, and it only occurred to me a few days ago that I'm going to have no results for you either because they're all on Buy It Nows, and so none of them are coming to an end. So they're just sat there patiently waiting. Maybe we should have a challenge where we list them at the same time on 7-day listings and see what we can get out of it. But I think it's a bit of an eBay fail for both of us this week.
Yeah, and if anybody's joining on, jump into the comments in the Facebook group. Let us know how you're getting on. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be good. One last thing before we go, just for a bit of fun, because Kev has been coming out with some golden nuggets over the last few weeks here. And I always need to highlight when Kev comes out with some really interesting points that we should all pay attention to. So what I've got here is a little golden nugget bell. Here, you see, it's even golden. It's got a smiley face. So Kev gets a smiley face every time he gets a golden nugget. So next time he comes out with one of those pure gold knowledge bombs, he's going to get one of those from me.
I didn't get one of them at all tonight, so it must have been a bit of a boring episode.
Must try harder.
Yeah. Always next week. Always next week.
I forgot about it. Don't tell anyone. I forgot about my little knowledge bomb bell here, but I'll keep it within hands reach for next week anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, well, thank you guys so much for joining us live. It's been great. Simon, Jonathan, Chris, Andy. You guys can, if you're listening this back on the recording, you guys can join us live any week, whenever it suits you guys, really. Just go to resellershow.com/live. You can join up, you can get in the conversation, and spend some time with us every Monday evening, talking all things reselling.
Absolutely. Even if you just have us on in the background while you're doing some prepping for your shipments or something like that, then it would just be nice to have you along and put your 10 pence worth in every now and again would be great. But yeah, it's always nice to have some ideas and some opinions from you guys. So thanks for making the effort to come and join us your Monday evening. We do appreciate that. All right, Kev, if pretty much covered everything this evening, so unless you've got anything else, we'll wrap it up here and now.
No, all good. Thanks very much for joining. Much appreciated. And really looking forward to the next session.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Roll on Monday. All right, guys. Take care and speak to you soon.
See ya.
Welcome to the Reseller Show with your hosts, Andy Lawrence and Kevin Blackburn.